Those of you that like going to school, please don't watch this video, because what this young man is about to say is going to make some of you really angry. This young man believes that one of the biggest problems we are facing in Nigeria is Western education. He believes that Western education is a tool by the colonial masters to enslave Africans. This is his story.
The education system we have in Africa is an education that teaches us how to use white man manufactured properties to solve our own problem, and not how to create those things to solve the problem for ourselves. If you go to a Nigerian hospital, you see in a complete hospital facility, the surgical knife, the glove, sterilized water, the syringe, the needle, everything from beginning to end, all are imported from outside Nigeria. It simply means that should in case Nigeria have to fight a war today with America or China, they don't even need to come and start fighting you militarily. All they can just do is to stop the supply. You discover the difference between the type of education we have today in Africa and education where the obsession was to get certificate and to get ego. A man is studying because he wants to be called a master degree student. A man is studying because he wants to be called a PhD. That man is not asking himself, since I became a master's degree student or a professor of food nutrition, which food have I added to the ofe egusi my grandmother discovered?
Bro, you say that Western education is one of the biggest problems we are facing in Africa. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Western education in Africa can be likened unto a man who have a dog in his house. And so the man began to train the dog on how to go and get an orange. And at some point, the dog began to adapt to that teaching because of the level of intelligence that is available to the dog, to conform to new learning, to conform to new teachings. And so anytime he says to that dog, go and get this orange, the dog easily goes and fetch it. But one thing the owner understands perfectly well is that dog intelligence and teaching available to it only stops at going to get an orange. The dog can never come to a point one day in his life that he will begin to think about how to plant an orange by himself, grow the orange, nurture it, and have it as his own. So the day he stops providing oranges for the dog, there will be nothing at all for that dog to pick. So the education system we have in Africa is an education that teaches us how to use white man manufactured properties to solve our own problem, and not how to create those things to solve the problem for ourselves. For instance, if you go to a Nigerian average medical today, a Nigerian hospital, you see in a complete hospital facility, the surgical knife that the doctor is going to use to carry out an operation, the glove, the sterilized water, everything from beginning to end, the syringe, the needle, all are imported from outside Nigeria and comes available to the doctor. So the doctor is only on how to use those materials. It simply means that should in case Nigeria have to fight a war today with America or China, they don't even need to come and start fighting you militarily. All they can just do is to stop the supply of those. Stop supplying them needles. Stop supplying them gloves. Stop supplying them surgical knife. You just find out that automatically your medical doctor becomes helpless, because his own knowledge stops at utilization of those equipment to solve problems. But the origin of education is education that begins the creation of those elements or those equipment before you begin to utilize. Because in the face of war, we don't ask you whether you know how to use it. We ask you how your availability of creating those things. And so today in Africa, we have been availed an education that governs the energy of the youth and focuses them on pursuing just memory and not pursuing solution of creation of the problems facing their environment. We are not yet facing our environment in Africa. We are facing education. We are facing book. And unfortunately, written books and written exams don't solve problems in our society. And so education becomes one of the biggest problems in Africa, because through this system or through this mechanism, we have continually graduated over thousands of young boys every year from the university who come out and they become helpless before the face of the society, because they have no single solution they can offer to the society. You see somebody, he said he studied pharmacist. In the company where he's working, all he's doing is receiving drugs, mixing the drugs together, and then selling it to the public. But all the drugs from beginning to end come from India You come to talk about the paracetamol powder, the ibuprofen, everything comes out from outside the Nigeria to him. All he knows is now to just sit down there and be selling those drugs for people. And the next thing that pharmacist began is to start getting jealous that there is another young guy out there who didn't study pharmacy and that person is selling the same drug he's selling. His anger is not that he has much more better knowledge than the person. His anger is that guy didn't have certificate that he had. So the ego was built for certificate, because certificate is just a license that gives people rights to earn money. That a man who has spent years in school learning something that does not solve any problem should be paid to keep the man's stomach being fed and then enhance the ego of that man, even though that man have no solution to any problem in the society. So in this system, we have continually graduated young boys who becomes a threat to security, a threat, because an unemployed man is the real evil in existence. So I am of the organic resurrection of an African education system that will reflect our values, that will reflect production, that will reflect solving the problems in our society. Because you see, when you hear Western education, the person who called it Western education is not stupid. No, sir. The person who called it Western education understands perfectly that this education was created for the sole purpose of building and sustaining industries in the West. It's just like an ego created an education, and the ego calls it ego's education. Everybody knows that ego's education will only train the ego and enhance the ego on how to pick and kill the bears and other animals. The ego's education can never serve the bears or the chickens. What they know perfectly well that ego's education was created to kill other animals. Meanwhile, the bears' education, the chickens' education, will help them to run away or escape. So why the white man created an education system that keeps us mentally busy to be exploring and utilizing all their resources? Then an African man have to look in to begin to think about the type of education system that once was before the white man came. Because education actually emanated from Africa. Growing up with your grandfather, you discover a point comes in the days of your life that even though you are growing with him, they says, which work will he learn? Because every community have a particular skill that they are known for. Some communities in their excellence, they do blacksmith. When we're talking about blacksmith, we talk about people who created metals, hoes, gun. Before the white man came, we have already begun to farm. And we're not farming with our hands. We are farming with metals. So there are people who have mastered the technology of using metals already and molding them into different shapes. So education that was available in those days was that a young boy will be taken and go to learn those things. And then you discover if this boy is allowed to learn these things, that boy begin to innovate. Automatically, as the boy is coming up or coming to maturity, source of livelihood and survival is guaranteed. And so the boy can easily pick up a wife. Some of them goes to learn orthopedic surgeon. You come in a particular community, you know that this particular community was known for certain bones. Some of them knows how to do midwifery. You see a particular man that says, if your wife is pregnant, we don't have hospital here, but go there, you will not die. The assurance was there. So the education was fixing the environment. And so you look around us and you ask yourself, so there was no white man in our society, and yet our ancestors they discovered palm wine, they discovered palm oil, they discovered many things. The reason was because in your culture, you face your environment. And the origin of innovation is a man who looks at his environment desperate to solve the problem there. When you begin to think in that direction, automatically you discover the difference between the type of education we have today in Africa and education where the obsession was to get certificate and to get ego. A man is studying because he wants to be called a master degree student. A man is studying because he wants to be called a PhD. That man is not asking himself, since I became a master's degree student or a professor of food nutrition, which food have I added to the ofe egusi my grandmother discovered? Because you look at the food we eat today, it is the same, exactly that same food our grandmothers discovered. Egusi, ogbono, nsara. So you that studied, that had PhD as a food nutritionist, which food did you add? You find out that all you knows how to do is to speak big grammar. Because if today the white man understands perfectly that if our pharmacists begin to discover how to build drugs from cassava starch, automatically money is pushing directly into your village. Development starts coming there. The farmer starts getting rich. And then again, the pharmacists start looking directly into using those herbs in the bush to create drugs. Automatically, the pharmacists start even helping in forest preservation. Because once you begin to utilize those things, you create wealth out of those things. So what we have in Africa before the white man came is a functional education that prepares youth, so that in those days you don't see a young man that people says he doesn't marry because of his financial incapability. Because the best root of a man getting into family is a man who can take care of his stomach. But today numerous of African youths are gallivanting all over our streets, helpless, and they doesn't have anywhere to go. You don't even talk about marriage to them, because when you talk about marriage to them, you are like a man talking to somebody who have no hope. But like a man talking to somebody who have not even fed himself. He have produced people who are very, very. Something happened in our class. Final year students, 5 people have studied 5 years in the school, and then the lecturer asked a very simple question in the middle of the class. He says, "How many of you want to travel outside Nigeria after graduation?" People who are about to graduate in 3 months' time, and then 70% of the class raised up their hand. The lecturer says, "How many of you want to come back if you finish traveling?" Everybody returned back their hand down. And the lecturer waved his head in agony. He says, "You people need to think. You people need to change the way you people are thinking." And what is the ideology? 5 years in school has provided a bountiful fool that couldn't provide any value to the society. And what the society is looking for is value, not your certificate or your qualification. So they are about to graduate and they look around and they discover we have no simple solution we can offer to anybody's problem. I am about to graduate and I can't even produce anything. You have this, you find out that you are helpless. You are a contextual meaning of there was a man called Adam, and Adam was found out that he is naked, completely naked. And so they start being that pressure of them to try to travel outside Nigeria where they know they are going to work without a certificate. Because you don't care what you studied in this country. Once you travel to America, Canada, England, all this engineering you did here, you don't put the certificate to one side. You kept the certificate to one side and begin to do what? Work normal job level that they pay people per hour. And he's comfortable with that because the 5 years of keeping him in school was only a journey to get certificate. And certificate don't solve problem. Certificate widens dependency, creates consumers, and creates a society of helpless youth. So when we are talking about resurrection of African man culture, we are talking about bringing back African education, no longer Western education. African education is that education that is based on value, looking at how do we solve a particular problem in this particular place. How do we look? The best root of this is that even the question we are asking our primary school students have to change. Because when they are in their primary secondary school, the question always comes like, what do you want to become in future? That is a question of title. Which title do you want to hold? So the young boy says, I want to become an engineer. The boy says, I want to become a pharmacist. These things are titles, ego. The question should change to, what problem do you want to solve when you grow? I know you are coming up as a young boy. Which problem do you want to solve when you grow up? So if that boy says, I want to build car, and then that boy gets into university, as he's studying, he'll be asking himself, am I coming there? Do I now know what is pacing and rents inside a car? Or am I just here wasting my time? So a boy, as he's growing, he says, what do you want to become? The boy says, I want to be something who is manufacturing drugs. He says, that is so beautiful. So as that boy is studying in school, he's asking himself, am I coming there? Am I producing those drugs? The question has to change from what do you want to become to which problem do you want to solve? If that question enters in that dimension, automatically you will see that people are now joining with direction. But today, what we just have is people who are pursuing certificates, because today you want to get into politics, they ask you a certificate. You want to get a job, they ask you a certificate. You want to get everything, they're asking you certificate, because certificate is just a license that a man who has spent years in school studying what does not solve anybody's problem have to be paid money to keep his belly taken care of, so that he continue producing more fruitless. That's people that doesn't bear any fruit, any solution to anybody's problem. And that is why Western education comes with exam. Western education writing exam is a proof that Western education doesn't solve any problem in the society. Because when you are in the axis of anything that solves problem, you don't write exam. if you are in the axis of anything that solves problem, your result, the report card of what you are doing becomes a living certificate, a living proof or text of your success or your failure. For instance, I've gone to learn how to repair generator, and then I'm learning how to fix generator under my boss. By my learning, by my practical learning, automatically, the result I'm producing there is already a proof of test. There's nothing like come and write an exam on paper. Writing an exam on paper is proof that what you are doing in Western education school cannot be proved in real life. Somebody goes to learn how to wire a house. You have media people working here. If they come here, they don't write the exam for them to get qualification. You tell them to set this place up. So if they set it up and you see the light, you know this one have started learning. He knows what he's doing. Somebody goes to learn trading at main market on it. They doesn't write the exam one day for the past 6 years that guy served. He stayed with Oga for a certain time. Oga go and open another shop for him. Opening the shop is a test on its own to see if the boy is learning. So, but when you have to start writing an exam on a book, it simply means you are trying to prove that you know it on a book because you can't prove it in real life. What is the value of texting the credibility of what you know on a book when it is something you can actually reproduce the result immediately? Are you with me now? If it is something you can reproduce the result, why then do you have? That's why they do exam malpractice, cheating. This thing that says exam malpractice. Exam malpractice is just a proof that Western education is useless. Because it means now that you can now thief to claim that you know what you don't know. But if I carry a generator and keep for a boy that learn how to repair generator, there's not like that guy can peep and get that gen working excellently and perfectly. If he doesn't know it, the boy doesn't know it. And then you come in every company, you discover there is no company that thrives on individual progress. This thing that says this person is first, this person is second, or this person should just work. If you come in a company thrives on collective cooperation. Like you look at Toyota company today. Toyota is trying to bring a latest model of car. Everybody in that company is fusing their head, cooperation, to produce effective results. So telling people to write an exam alone as a system of them awarding them individual results is a proof that you are only trying to, the education you bring to them have no solution, have no company solution to the world, because the white man education was designed to keep the people busy, give them food, and continue to solve for them the problem they were supposed to solve for themselves. So when we are talking about Western education, we are talking about organic resurrection of, we don't want Western education again. The Western education was designed to continue to progress the industries in the West. We want renaissance, which is let's structure the Western education to become African education, which is what Chinese did today. Because whenever we are talking, we look at the people who have done what we have did. Because China was once having this type of education, where every year, I can tell you that this year we are now, Nigeria is going to produce more than 20,000 youths who are graduates. You ask the guy, what do you study? The guy says petrochemical engineering. You have a very big compassion for him, because you know how many petrochemical industries that are today in this particular place. So where is he going to work? You ask the other person, what do you study? The guy says mass communication. Again, you extend compassion, because you know that where is this guy going to get work? You now ask the other guy, what do you study? The guy says political science. Especially when the guy is coming from an average family. Why? Because when you look at even every field of life in Nigeria, you discover every field of life in Nigeria are not occupied by the people who hold the certificate. Ask people which course did P2B study in the university? Business. You ask another person, which course did L5 that is doing broadcast journalism today at Arise TV, which course did he study? Animal husbandry. And then he's doing journalism. You ask somebody who is working in a bank, what do you study to become a banker? The person will call mass communication. The reason is because the field in every African man, companies or sectors, is not knowledge of that field dependent, but just a field training dependent. If I go and pick my grandmother in the village and train my grandmother for 3 months, my grandmother can reproduce and work in a pharmaceutical company the same result as somebody who studied pharmacist for 5 years did. So the 5 years pharmacy was a scam, because if it was to be real, that guy would have been producing drugs. And if he's producing drugs, my grandmother cannot produce drugs, because there is an exact high level of intellect that when it comes in that production. But if it is all about mixing the already produced, because I did my IT in a pharmaceutical company at Oka. So how did the pharmaceutical company do? They already have the paracetamol powder imported from India. They come and put it there, turn it and mix it automatically. They begin to put it into different packets, syrups, and all of that. So we pose that we are pharmacists, we are producing drugs, but all we are doing is just mixing already products. Like somebody who is waiting for bike to come into Nigeria and he starts coupling the bike. So you will now find out that if you pick anybody who didn't even go to school for 3 months, for 6 months, and give him that training, he can reproduce the results. So Western education in Africa is not giving us the difference between the people who studied and the people who didn't study. The only thing or the only advantage the people who didn't study it have is the people who studied it have is license certificate to massage their ego that they know. That's why you look around, you see that there are numerous chemist shops today in Nigeria, people who are prescribing drugs. And then you come and ask, did you study pharmacy? He says no. Did you study pharmacy? He says no. And then there is a pharmacy man there who studied pharmacy for 5 years who is still selling that drug. And that guy is getting jealous of them. He's always telling people that those ones, did they all go to school? But they do not go to school, but they know even the prescription more than you. Because pharmacy is not drug prescription. Pharmacy is drug production. If you are producing drugs, you will those guys, you don't even need to come and rub shoulders with them. But because you have entered into the pool of a place where knowledge is hidden and egos is massaged. You came out and you are a big engineer. You are all kind of things. And then you look around Africans' rooms today, you discover the contextual meaning again. That there was a man called Adam, and Adam was naked. You say you want to remove everything that white man give us in Africa, you find out that your room becomes vacant in a twinkle. Both this microphone, everything, almost everything, both the bed. I tell you that today, if the white man stops supplying us medical equipment, there will be no surgery again in our hospital. I was having a discussion with a doctor. Sterilized water, ordinarily sterilized water, is not produced here. Glove is not produced here. Needle is not produced here. We are a country that imports bullets. And you hear war going up in different countries. So when you stand up and you say you want to fight America, and you are importing bullets from America, they don't need to fight you militarily. What they just says, stop every supply of ammunition to that Nigeria. You just find out again the contextual meaning that there was a man called Adam, that Adam was naked. They don't need to kill you with gun. They need to otare. They can use otare to wipe you. Well, that was one of the primary purpose that Western education is our big problem in Africa, that it produces youth who don't solve problem. The second reason why Western education is a big problem in Africa is that it doesn't preach African value. It destroys an African values completely. Who is an educated African? An educated African is that young guy who believed that all the ways of his ancestors is evil and awkward and local. So that young man look at the system that his fathers formed families. The families that his fathers was able to keep 3 or 4 women in the house, and all of them are living perfectly. That young man now see that his father is cheating against his wife, that the father is a cheat. The ideology was created in a way that young man is going to go and learn another people's culture. It's called Western education. It's time again for us to erase the Western and make it Chinese education. That young man see his father going to farmland to go and do farm work. The system by which is the only system his father survived for generations without knowing the amount of any currency in the world. Because your father was living in sufficiency. He didn't know what is exchange rate. Today, dollars bothers us so much because we all depend on them for even what we eat. And so your father is now going to agricultural work, and you're now telling your father that this is not a place where the world is. So you see thousands of African youth today galvanizing without a farm. We have more than 50,000 students in Nnamdi Azikiwe University. If we have an education system that mandates every student to have 3 plots of land of agriculture as a proof that you are into agriculture before entering into school. If you don't have this farm, you can't get in here. This is one of the JAMB requirements. The way they require you to go and bring your birth certificate, go and bring your set of origin, go and bring this one. If we can put it as a mandatory, before you get into this university, show us 3 plots of land that we are going to go and do survey to make sure another student is not going to show that same 3 plots of land. And that land is personalized to you to farm, and you are free to expand according to how you grow. And then we have 50,000 students in Nnamdi Azikiwe University. That is 150,000 plot of land in Anambra State farmed. When we have 150,000 plot of land in Anambra State farmed, brother Malabarako Silaya, food will no longer be sold in the market. It will now be like, come and eat, because there is a point you journey to. You discover if you read things fall apart. Atebe says time is coming for the new harvesting season, and Okonkwo and the other great farmers have to start giving out their old yam, because they know if the new yam come, nobody is going to eat the old one again. That is the level of abundance those men were operating on. Today you are hungry. You know a tuber of yam is 4,000, and then you look at the universities, you see beautiful speakers of English who didn't have one plot of land. But Okonkwo in his days was about to disboost. Get these yams off. Cook it off. People go and call their in-laws from faraway land and says, come and hold a feast. You feed people freely. I grow in the days of my grandfather. I see that if a woman is cooking or eating, and you come, the woman will be persuading you. Please, the food is done. Come and eat. Please, if you are going, the woman is saying, bikonu. Now, here, today, we live in a world where you are eating and somebody come and visit you, tell the person one them can make him, which means let me do the way you have done. The person didn't know whether you have even did anything, but Onya Amana, truly there's hunger in the land, and if he should even allow you to come and have that freedom, the person will not even have enough portion for himself. So imagine if we have Nnamdi Azikiwe University with 50,000 students having 150,000 plot of land farmed. Now, this is just one university in Anambra State. We have another one called Polytechnic Oko. We have another one called Odumegwu Ojukwu University. By the time these two universities combine, we produce another 50,000 students. Each of them with 3 plots. That means by students, by young youths, 300 plots of land has been farmed. Why then can't Africans export food to the world? Are you with me now? And you see, as that boy is doing it, it's 3 plots of land that boy farmed. But that boy turned back at the end of the year and realized that this 3 plots of land I farmed it with maybe 60,000. But this land was giving me 280,000 naira. That guy will go back next year and farm 6 plots. You see the passion of expansion. I mean, I'm an agriculturist. And one of my biggest renaissance is a journey of bringing people into agriculture. So I know what it entails. Before you know it, we have created an avalanche of food distribution to the world, because an African man has the greatest advantage in the whole world, which is the advantage of a fertile earth. The womb of the land of African man is the greatest fertile womb in the whole world, because land represents a woman. There are many features that makes land a woman, which, if you allow me, I can just give you just 5. 1, the exact way you discover your sperm enters into the body of a woman and produces a child, it forms a child. The exact way you put anything beneath the land, you see the land automatically reproducing those things back. So the exact way a woman have womb, land on its own self have womb. Number 2, a woman enters conception period, times that she can conceive and times that she cannot conceive. That is the same thing that land have. Land have conception period and dry period. That is rainy season when you can put there and it will reproduce, and dry season where it cannot be fruitful to reproduce. The same thing, the exact way you see the body of a woman, if the body of a woman is exposed, you see men trying to come to die, to fight, getting attracted to that exposed body. The same way that when you see land exposed, you see people rushing to come and buy that exposed land. The exact way you discover that women causes fight between 2 men. A man and 2 men is fighting just because of a woman, even to kill themselves. The exact way you see land causes 2 communities or 2 families, very big fights to even kill themselves. So I can go ahead and give you many reasons why land is a woman. So if land is a woman, it means a man farming on land is having a sexual relationship with nature. And that is why in Igbo cosmology, what gives most people right of ownership of the land they called their place today was just because their father was farming on the land. A man goes to a village and stand in a bush, and the man says, this land belongs to my father. And then you are wondering and asking the boy, How did you know the land belonged to your father? Or did your father came here and carry this land and came? The man says, I can swear. Why? What gave your father right of ownership? The man says, this was the land my father was farming. So the man who was farming on a land is a man who was having sexual relationship with nature. And as he gives nature, nature automatically gives him food, continues surviving his existence. But then Western education came to Africa and automatically separated that marriage between man and land. And automatically African youth began to sell land. One of the biggest things that truncates boy today in Africa, that truncates boys being royal under their master to serve, is the selling of land in Africa. Our ancestors never said land, never sold land, because land is a man's wife. And the one who sells land sells the future of his children. We don't own the land owns us. But because African youth are no longer making use of the land to farm and to produce their food, automatically they see no other reason than to sell that land. And automatically when we begin to sell the land, money began to rule over land. But the easiest way our ancestors domesticated money was to put land over money. Money don't buy land. Because land owns us. And that the only reason why a man can sell land in Igbo in the ancient days, if that man wants to marry a wife and he doesn't have enough. So a man who sold his land to marry a wife is like a man who gave out one wife to bring another wife in his house. Because that land is maybe when we get into polygamy, I will explain to you again the mystery behind land ownership in Africa. And when we get to that point, we just discover that anybody who says land is a fool. Anybody who says land doesn't know what the greatest resources on this earth is land. There are three most important needs of a man on earth. One is food, two is clothes, three is shelter. These three needs are land dependent. They are not money dependent. You want to build a house, you build it on land. You want to get a clothes, you get it from the tree, from animals that are working on land. You want to get a shelter, it's still on land. But when you have an African youth who their instincts have been taken away from agriculture, what then do you expect than that a plot of land today in my village? They called me, that was when I entered this room. They says, we have a plot of land to sell in my village, 3 plots. I said, how much? I was even thinking they would say 3 million or anything. They says each plot is 5 million. When the guy now changed voice, he says it's 4 million. So the 3 plot is 12 million naira. And so when you say 3 plot is 12 million naira, what those boys have not understand that they are celebrating their own death. They think it's development. But then it is the type of development that I saw in Lagos. That is the type of development where the indigenous young boys no longer have land inheritance. Because their fathers have sold off all their land to the visitors. And so the indigenous boys now becomes an enemy of the people. They now get frustrated because they can't get a place where they can build a homestead. Because one of the greatest things you owe your son on this earth is a landed property. You are a failure as a father if you can't say to your son, this is a place to build your house. You are a failure not only to your son, but to your wife. But when you get into polygamy, I will explain it later. So when we are talking about Western education, we want to remove that education that focuses on money. Because the white man government runs on money, which is capitalism. But African education runs on land. And land is a culture of people that practice communism. There are the life of the white man and the life of the black man is like day and night. They can't coexist. Just like darkness cannot coexist here with light. Darkness and light can only coexist in isolation. That means light have to be there and then they have to wait. But if day is there, that means night have to wait. This is the life of the white man and the black man. Everything that the white man offer is about competition. The Western education is about competition. Who will come out to become first? Again, they practice democracy. Again, they practice monogamy. Again, they practice legal court system. But when you come to Africa, the African or the masculine culture practice what? Communism. We don't compete to select a leader, we cooperate. We practice what? Polygamy. And we practice what? A system by which everything we are doing is not capitalist dependent, but communist dependent. This is a culture you will see in China. This is a culture you will see in Saudi Arabia. And this is a culture you will see in the ancient Africa. So when we are thinking we can copy those cultures, then that is the reason why you have many Africans today complaining that there is no true democracy in Africa. There cannot be true democracy in Africa because what is not indigenous to you cannot be true to you. And you see them say there is no true love in Africa. There can be true love in Africa because what is not indigenous to you cannot be true to you. And you see them say there is no true education in Africa. There can be true education in Africa because the Western education is not indigenous to you. And they say there is no true, as they say there is no true, there is no justice in our cause, true justice. There can be true of what is not true to you. So when we want to bring back that culture, then we say in Africa now, we have begun by restructuring youth that think about how to solve a problem. Ego is bad. That is why somebody stand up to that and says he graduated with first class, second class, first class honor. And then they give the boy 5 minutes and the boy use English to blow up everywhere. And then you ask the young boy, you have finished speaking English. I think you studied biochemistry. Can you come on, let us see what you can produce with your biochemistry? That guy is helpless. It only begin and end in English. English is a language, just like every animal on this earth have a language. And so it doesn't solve any problem. It just widens the scope of the problem. So I'm talking about education as it touches culture. I've talked about it in the light of somebody hating the family system of his father. I've talked about a Western education in the light of somebody hating the economic dimension, which is the agricultural heritage of his father. Now I want to talk about education in the light of a anti-personnel indoctrination. Anti-personnel indoctrination was when somebody was educated with the instinct of superiority of the white race over the black race. So you begin to look up to the white man and thinking the lifestyle of the white is superior to your own life. So anytime you want to speak, you stand up and you are quoting what Thomas Edison says. You are quoting what Abraham Lincoln said. And what you don't fail to understand that everything Abraham Lincoln said was said because Abraham Lincoln is existing in a total different culture. And there are many things on earth that the white man say that is only true for the white man because all statements made on earth is cultural specific. And ego says to go far in life, you must be far from the ground. The ego is correct because the defense mechanism of the ego is above the ground. But the wise animals like the goat and the antelope know that to go far in life, you need to be very, very close to the ground. The fish know that to go far in life, you need to be very, very close to the water. So statements are cultural specific. When every statements the fish make, it was true inside the river. An animal standing on the ground started copying the culture of the fish is going to annihilation. Black race is on a project of annihilation because we have chosen the white man system of superior over our own system. This is too much, especially in family. The easiest way to corrupt a girl, to make the girl struggle to be under a man in marriage, is to give her Western education. And that Western education is what is going to teach her her right and her left. And in African families, we don't have rights separated into individuals in our family. We have rights as a unified total body. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we no longer want Western education in Africa. We want African education. Just like Chinese today have Chinese education. Chinese don't have Western education again in their land, which is education that takes the people from nursery to the question of which problem do you want to solve. Myself, I found my own problem I want to solve. I want to be somebody who can produce food in mass quantity in my state, and I'm doing my best in every part of way to achieve this. The question is, which other problem did every youth want to solve? No longer studying mechanical engineering, paying, stretching your neck and everything to prove that you are intelligent. So I'm not calling for total abolishment of Western education, but to restructure it to become African education with the intent of reflecting our culture, morals, and value. Thank you so much.
Wow, you've said a lot, and I had a couple of questions to ask, but each time I want to ask you, then you say something that complements what I was curious about, and somehow it becomes irrelevant to ask that question.
Okay.
How old are you?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 25 years.
You're a young man.
Yes.
And you speak like an old person.
You know that I grew up with my grandfather now. So that was why. So
we didn't introduce you in the beginning. First of all, before I say anything, I like people who are curious to know you right now to know who they're just listening to.
Okay, my name is Ihedi, Light of Africa, a young boy from Kano, Enugu State, pushing for African Renaissance. And African Renaissance is a journey of taking Africans to the organic culture that once was from the beginning before the colonial invention. If we can return back to that culture, our life will change. The culture we are talking about is not only about a spiritualist, a man going to kill a fowl or to kill a goat. We are talking about culture as it touches leadership, culture as it touches learning, culture as it touches family, and culture as it touches our justice system, culture as it touches our media, culture as it touches every aspect, because culture is like quantum mechanics. You can't take one and leave the other. Once we go with one, we take everything. And I know that while we journey on this, we are going to be successful and achieve it. Because once we achieve it, Africa will change. And we are not the first people who have done it. Chinese have done the same Chinese Renaissance. And Chinese is reaping the fruit of their labor today. We will do the same in Africa.
Do you think anybody will hear you out?
Anybody will hear me out how?
You said you are concerned about Renaissance in Africa.
Yes.
Do you think there's anybody in position right now who is also concerned about the same thing?
Yes, there are many people in high positions who have the same passion that I have.
Okay,
but
can you mention them?
Somebody like Julius Malema of South Africa.
Okay.
That's a very big person that I know understands Renaissance to a reasonable extent.
What about Nigeria?
Nigeria, what we have in Nigeria is people who understand but they are not in power. The people who understand.
People like you, right?
People like me, people like, let me say, Mazidibia. There's a guy they call Mazidibia, Mark Eteluguamoke, a very intelligent African, I can say African, one of the African most intelligent man. And then you have somebody like Matthias Ezak. Many people understand the ideology, but the people who understand it, I can even say that this guy called Burna Boy understands this thing to a reasonable extent, because I've watched Burna Boy interviews. Burna Boy have a different approach to the mindset of the youth today. But you know that number one is that when you start having this type of ideology, you know it cannot be executed much without power, because every object or continues in its state of rest or uniform motion unless acted upon by an external force. But as a wise antelope who is beginning to understand that lion is your enemy, you don't come out to challenge the lion to say, lion, come, let us fight. If you do it, they will kill you and nothing will happen. So we cannot challenge the government now. What we are doing is to try to reconfigure the mind of the influential people in the government. So many of them have passion, but they don't have the soundness of knowledge. Example is this man called P2B. P2B have passion to see a new Africa. But what P2B fails to understand is that he can never achieve that through democracy. Democracy, he can never achieve that through democracy. Democracy is a Western calibration to run Africa from what physics is called action from a distance. Action from a distance is how to act on an object without touching it. Like this microphone, somebody is using magnetic force to draw it. And you're not seeing the person touching it, but that person is acting. So the colonialists created nations in Africa, and through democracy, installed evil people. I can explain. This is not about democracy. So, but when we start, maybe we'll discuss democracy some other time. But P2B have passion, but the passion need to be guided with soundness of knowledge. That there's nothing like that. Another person is very dark man. The very dark man have good passion for Nigerian liberation. But one thing very dark man say, we always say that he's working for a better Nigeria. My brother, what was never good cannot get better. This is the obvious truth. And I don't want to get extensive into teaching it, into explaining. But what I say is that anybody who told you he's working for a better Nigeria should be reminded that what was never good cannot get better. This building, as this building is 2-story building, somebody went and dig just one feet foundation for the 3-story building. And I'm telling somebody that the foundation of this building is wrong. The person says, come, let us make the building better. There is no way you can make the building better if you don't destroy the foundation. So that's what someone like very dark man is doing. He's passionate, but his passion need to come and meet soundness of knowledge. Because I know this is about unification, and we are going to actualize everything. That is it.
Wow, interesting. So, I don't even know what questions to ask this young man. The people that dispense drug, you say that the people called pharmacy. You've never gone to a pharmacy before?
You said?
Have you ever been to a pharmacy to get drugs?
A pharmacy to get drugs?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've been to a pharmacy to get drugs.
Don't you think there's something important they are doing?
What is important that they are doing is what you have to understand. That
Have you ever had to rely on their prescription?
Wait, I didn't say they are not doing something important, but what I'm saying is that what they are doing is something that you don't need to go to school to do.
It's something
Anybody can do. That there are many people today doing exactly what they are doing who didn't go to school, and because they have gone to school, they should have built extra results, which is the fabrication, the origination of those materials, because we already have the African soil, the African crop, and the African herbs that can convert. I read something that was last 2 months about bitter leaves tablet. We have bitter leaf here at the back of our yard. One Otondo who says he's writing a project have gone and written the project about everything medicinal about bitter leaf and posted in the site. The white man saw it immediately, seized it immediately, and they began to produce for us bitter leaf tablets. 5 years. What did somebody that started 5 years is doing is to come back and the same thing somebody that learned 6 months how to sell drugs. If you like, pick your wife now, go and give your wife to a chemist. Within 1 year, your wife will start selling drugs. I'm telling you the honest truth. So I'm not saying that I have not benefited from. We all enter cars, understand? And when we enter cars, we don't say because our people there is not able to build car, we will not enter. We enter, but what I'm saying is that we have to ask for more. Understand? We have to. And that's one of the biggest problems we have. That anytime you talk about white man, somebody says, and you are using white man products, and you have a cell phone in your hand, you wear a shirt, you use Facebook. No, that somebody brought rice to you, coupled with stones and chaff, will not make you to carry the whole rice and stone and chaff and cook and eat. You have to do filtration. Filter off the stones and this thing, and then because today the people that are using white man property will not tell you that the white man is using gold, but their land doesn't produce gold. Like England, who doesn't have any gold beneath their ground, they have gold. The phone you have in your hand that you are saying white man built, the main material gotten for building the phone is cobalt. Who is the biggest country of producing cobalt? Congo here. Are you with me? So you discover that this thing is a byproduct, an end product of what was taken from your land. The only thing that you have it, but you cannot know how to utilize it. The white man have not stopped taking from you. You that is now holding a finished product that they got from you, the people are now saying that you are condemning them and using those properties. So is this idea you have to correct that what we are saying that, okay, we are not condemning everything about it. We are saying it need like structuring to start from production so that our doctor will no longer wait to get a glove from the white man before they can touch your pregnant wife. That if war starts today, the first thing nation does is to weaponize their exports. Like you hear America today talking, he says, if Canada refuses this, we raise 25% tariff. If China refuses this, we raise 120% tariff. Everything Donald Trump was weaponizing is things he sells to those countries and the things they're pushing. You understand? Now you want to start war with a country, and then you know that while the war is going on, many people will be shot, bullets will cut many people, and then doctors have to be doing active work. But the doctor is dependent on your enemies to get needle, your enemies to get syringe. The military men are dependent on your enemies to get a bullet. Every very aspect. You are dependent on them to get car. That is one of the problems we have during the Biafran war. Billions of naira was contributed, given to a particular man to go and buy ammunition. Now, the guy went and he didn't come back. The Igbos concluded that the guy stole the money or ate the money. They don't even know that maybe he went to buy from the people who is sponsoring the war. Because the war was not about Igbo versus Nigeria. It's about Igbo versus the whole world. So they are going to buy weapons from the people you are fighting against. The man never came back again. Understand? So you want to fight a war and you are depending on your enemies to get weapons to fight against them. We have to scam the combat seat. But that's why I told you, someone like Julius Malema who have this passion and is in power should come and better and sit back. Let us discuss the totality of the knowledge. Because this thing he is doing is shouting now, magangangam. If war starts between America to South Africa, it's going to be a total wipe-off because the weapons have not already been built. My guy, whenever we are talking about this world we are living is a battleground, forget that you think we are living in peace. We are living in peace today because Africa was conquered ideologically. You hear today that war is fighting in Iran. You hear they are fighting in Israel. You hear they are fighting in Russia. You hear they are fighting in Ukraine. And as you are hearing those wars, you say, you don't ask yourself, why are we not fighting in Africa? We are fighting in Africa because Africa have not waking up. Africa is conquered militarily. We don't have any purpose. We don't have anything we are fighting for. So anything can be administered to us and we accept. The day Africans start producing things, start solving their problems, start having priorities, start saying no, start deciding that we will do this and we will not do that, you will understand the contextual meaning. There was a man called God who sent angels to the Garden of Eden to go and pursue Adam and Eve away because they got only knowledge. Thank you so much.
Wow, I don't even know what to say right now. You've said a lot, and it's too much to assimilate at the same time. Brothers and sisters, what do you think about this man's beliefs and opinion? Kindly indicate in the comment section. Let us know what you think. And it's surprising to know that you are just 25 years old and yet you have this much knowledge and you have a belief that is unpopular in the Nigerian society. Not so many youth think towards this direction. How do you hold on to this kind of belief? I know that if you get to discuss things like this every day, your lecturers will challenge you. There are people who think that this guy, there's something wrong with him. Maybe he's not all right.
Yes.
How do you manage with all this, considering that you're a student?
Yes.
I'm sure that you'd have come across moments where you were challenged seriously.
Number one is that I was removed even from my class WhatsApp group.
Why?
Since 300 level. Simply because the ideologies I produce is totally different from the ideology. The truth is, now when you begin to reason like your grandfather, you become an enemy of the West. And we live in a society where people are so biased about belief. And belief is ability of a man to make conclusions and not ready to accept evidences to make changes. And anytime somebody begins to touch people's belief, that is the easiest way that person gains enmity. So I have handled it with my classmates. I've handled it from the place I'm coming from, that is my locality. I've handled it with even my teachers. And I've handled it with every aspect of my life, even the place I was doing my business before. I was sacked there because of this kind of teaching. I like giving quick notice. But I stand today to tell that was an elevation for me. Understand? So what you just have to know is that sit back and consent yourself. To understand that what you are saying is not actually out of any selfish interest, maybe to gain popularity, or maybe to just sound that you know what you're saying, but that you are talking because you are joining in the ancestral understanding of ancient Africans. That we deviated from a root. We deviated from a culture. Culture is something you cannot copy. This is all about what Renaissance is. Culture is something that no species can survive copying. Whenever you try to copy a culture, what you will become is you become a half-caste. Like you see somebody want to travel to the moon from the earth, and that person is not dressing up with all those lunar protections. Once that person gets to a particular point, the guy will just freeze and die. Culture is only something that is specified to a particular species. There is no amount of civilization that will make the monkeys stop jumping on the tree. Neither is there any amount of civilization that will make the eagles not to soar. There is neither any amount of civilization that will make the fishes to survive outside the water. Culture predates the species. So the species have no rights to choose whether to accept the culture or not. Living the culture is only about seeing consequences, fighting the consequences, and thinking you are making progress. So if it's in terms of encountering challenges and opposition, I have done that a lot. But understanding the passion, understanding where we are going to, then I know that anytime a man speaks truth, that man will not get applause. When you see somebody speaking and there's a lot of people clapping, it simply means that person is not addressing the problem. When a man talks, what is the real problem of Africa? There have to be tears. Men have to go sober. Men have to go silent. When somebody is speaking and you see people clapping, standing ovation, it simply means that person is not touching the problem. Because when a man is sick, and then the doctor come and start administering treatment, and the person is laughing, it means that doctor is not doing a marvelous work. When somebody have somebody's bone dislocated, and doctor came and touched it, what comes is shouting. It means doctor's medication is working. If doctor puts needle, he feels pain. So when truth is administered to a man who is sick, the first thing you will see is oppositions. The first thing you will see is pain. The first thing you will see is many resistance. But then you don't bother much about the resistance, because when you speak truth, you don't force people to accept truth. When you speak truth, you leave people to the voice of consequences. Consequences will always validate who is right or who is wrong. The winner in any argument is not the winner, but the winner against consequences. That is it.
This is deep. Wow, you've spoken well, and you've spoken for long actually. Now we'll leave it to the viewers to continue from where we are going to stop at this moment.
Okay.
So we also have more interviews to do with this young man. He also wants to talk about polygamy. He strongly believes that the reason there's high rate of divorce in Nigeria today is because we are practicing monogamy, right?
Yes.
He believes that polygamy is the way forward. So we are going to be interviewing him, and he also wants to talk about religion. Your stance on religion is that there's no God, right? Or
it's beyond that. When we got there.
Okay, we'll also talk about that. So basically, just want to talk about religion. And then what else are we going to talk about?
Maybe we talk about democracy, but that one may put us in problem.
Okay, if there's enough time, just that you're planning to leave tomorrow. If not, would have loved to capture all of this.
We'll talk about democracy. But okay, let's do two now and do two in the evening.
Okay.
Let's do two topics now, which is this one we've done now, Western education. Now let's do polygamy now. Maybe in the evening we can take religion and democracy.
All right, so we'll try. So I don't want to say so much at this point. I think you've said enough. You've said everything you wanted to say, right?
Yeah.
So we are going to leave it for the viewers to decide what to do with this information. Is this what you think is shareable? Do well to share it to people. A lot of people should know about the Lockheed Udo experience. We are putting out valuable content every day, but unfortunately, not too many persons even know about this platform. So those of you that are loyal to our platform, please take it as part of your responsibility to help us share our videos to people. Talk to people about the Lockheed experience. I believe that a lot of people should be watching us, and if we have a lot of people watching us, it will inspire us to go and bring more guests to come and talk about really interesting topics, and hopefully we'll be able to attract sponsors to our show, and it will look better than what it looks right now. So please help us to grow this platform. Thank you very much for sharing this insight, and it is well appreciated.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Thank you so much for all your hospitality since I stepped into this particular place.
Yeah.
I have maximum regard for how you treat your guests. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. You are welcome very much. So this interview started with a question, and now it has ended with something to leave you thinking about. So at this point, we may have to say goodbye to our viewers. Do not forget to catch us up on Spotify. Go to Spotify right now. Search the Lucky Udo Experience. The audio version of this interview is going to be uploaded on Spotify. You don't want to miss that, okay? Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day. Bye.